Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, traders. Can you hear me and see my screen? If you could just type yes in the questions. Okay, great. All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Okay, all right, let's get started. So welcome to the Bookmap Platform Details webinar. This is Bruce at Bookmap. The goal of the webinar here is to introduce you to Bookmap, and we'll go through the website, show you or define what Bookmap is, show you how to connect, and then how you can get it. And then we'll jump into the user interface and in the live market and start to identify the elements on the Bookmap chart and how it visualizes order flow phenomena that gives you an advantage. Okay, and then we'll start to look at some of the basics in the order flow. Okay, so when you subscribe to Bookmap, it comes with education. There's a 4-part educational course here, and that course is available at any time. So you can always review that, but then you can also see that same content unfold in the live market, okay, with the advanced order flow webinars. Okay, you need to subscribe to get that. We wanted to filter out those that are asking basic questions for those that are serious Bookmap users. Okay, and we go through a lot of different things in the advanced order flow webinars, so I think you'll find those very helpful. Anyway, they start at 11 Eastern time immediately following this webinar, and on Fridays we give out the link for that advanced webinar. So I'm going to put it into the chat here. Okay, there you go, and you can you can access that that webinar. Okay, so and it'll start in, like I said, in about 25 minutes here. You know, so you get a taste for what we do in the advanced order flow webinars. All right, well, risk disclaimer. Trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. All right, let's jump over to bookmap.com. And let's scroll down here. Okay, this is older information. Intro video here. Okay, for those of you who are new, just a couple minutes long to understand what Bookmap is. Okay, and then we'll go down a bit further here, just more information about Bookmap. Now, this link is updated, so if you want to subscribe to the webinars for next week, you can click here. All right, and then Bookmap for equities, you can connect to US equities and use Bookmap, so I'll talk about that in just a second. Connectivity, we'll stop here, and I'll first define what Bookmap is. Okay, we're a software trading platform that has unique visualization phenomena or abilities to uncover order flow phenomena that is not seen from other platforms. Okay, so that's our advantage, and we're not a broker, we're not a data provider. Okay, now there's 3 different markets that we do connect to. Okay, one is digital currencies through the GDAX exchange, the futures markets, and then US equities. Okay, now for the futures and US equities, you will need a data provider. Okay, so this is how you connect. Okay, so CQG, Rhythmic, Gain Capital, IQ Feed, Transact, and Dev Experts. Now you'll also see some other platforms listed up here as well. So we connect via the API of NinjaTrader, TTX Trader Pro, and Interactive Brokers Traders Workstation. So you can go that route, but we recommend connecting directly to the data provider. Okay, you'll just get better data. All right, and then to connect to the GDAX exchange, that's free. Okay, so you don't have to pay for any or provide any data for the digital currency. All right, Dev Experts. I'm going to talk about this one here because this is how you connect to the U.S. equities, and we'll scroll back up. Okay, so this is what you'll need. There's information here. Ask me questions if you are a stock trader. Okay, we'll go through a lot of the details if you want to see it in the equities. Very low latency, There's servers around the globe for a DX feed Bookmap, and you have full depth of market. Okay, which is just that alone, I think, is just such a tremendous advantage looking at the equities. Anyway, we can talk about that if you have any questions. All right, now subscribing to Bookmap, let's go over that. This is where you can find it just a little bit further down. You can subscribe yearly and get a 20% discount, or monthly. Okay? And you can see the prices here and the different versions. So there's digital versions and global versions. So let's talk about it. The global or the digital version here is free. Okay, it connects to the GDAX exchange, and you get access to one digital currency. Okay, now the data is free, and this market is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the whole concept here for this free version was so you understand what Bookmap looks like in the live market. Okay. Now it also connects to delayed data for U.S. equity, so you also get that. So you can really get a feel for what Bookmap is, but you only get access to that one digital currency, and there's very limited support and only basic education. Okay. So the Digital Plus version, though, you get full support and the full advanced education. It allows you as well to connect to the GDAX exchange and trade right from the Bookmap chart. Okay, you also get the ability to record and replay your data, and you get up to 20 different digital currencies. All right, and you also get the US delayed equities data here. All right, so that's the Digital Plus version. Now, the global version. The global version includes connectivity to the GDAX exchange. Okay, everything in Digital Plus here. But in addition, what you get with Globex is the ability to connect to the futures market and the U.S. equities. Okay, the global version, or Global Plus version here, this allows you to connect to U.S. equities and the futures markets, but you also get the add-on indicators here. Okay, so there's a host of them that we put together, proprietary indicators that look at specific activity in the order flow. One is the ability here to trade right from the Bookmap chart, because we have the liquidity map in front of us. You can see that where the traders are, so you can front run high liquidity or hide your stops behind high liquidity. And now large lot tracker, we're looking at larger players who are entering into the book and start to understand what their intent is. Some imbalance indicators looking at order book imbalance and a volume imbalance. Iceberg tracker here, this looks at, again, larger players who are hiding their liquidity by using iceberg orders. Okay. We also have a correlation tracker to put other markets onto the Bookmap chart. All right, so those are the different versions. Let me know if you have any questions. Jump over to social media here and look at our Twitter feed at bookmap_pro if you want to follow us. All sorts of information here that you can see, and retweets, other traders, etc., interviews. Anyway, that's us on Twitter, and then here's us on YouTube. Okay, so we can go through just some of the playlists here on the home page. Okay, some intro videos here, so just click on the link here. Features and components, you can click here, and then order flow video snippets. Right, so you can click here and watch some of the phenomena that Bookmap uncovers. Very concise videos, and these are actually really good videos. This is where the rubber is going to meet the road, and you're going to start to understand how to use Bookmap. And it's this kind of information we go over in much more detail in the Advanced Order Flow webinars. All right, so that is that. Let's take a look at Bookmap and see what's going on here. Huh. Looks like I don't have any data here, actually. Hold on a minute. No, okay, there I go. Geez, what happened to my ES? Well, that doesn't matter anyway. We're not going to look at the ES. We're going to look at the NASDAQ. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit, start to understand what's going on here. Now, for those of you who are new here, let's define some of the elements on this chart. Okay. Now we have some, add-on indicators here. We have a cumulative volume delta indicator in the subchart. I'm going to close that up. We're going to look at just some very simple elements here in the Bookmap chart. Okay, we have a POC indicator, we have a VWAP, historical VWAP indicator. Close all those up, and we're looking at just 3 elements on this Bookmap chart. Okay, so for those of you who are a bit overwhelmed by looking at this chart and don't understand what it is you're looking at, it's actually very simple, objective, and straightforward data. 3 elements. 1, historical best bid and offer, well, current and historical best bid and offer. The volume that traded on that historical best bid and offer. And then the last element is the heat map. Now the heat map is this colored heat map that you see here. Okay, what is it? All right. Well, it's all derived from your DOM, your depth of market. So let's zoom in a little bit and take a look and define it here. This is unique and really the kind of core of Bookmap is the heat map here. Okay, volume display is excellent as well, and I'll cover that in just a minute. But as well as just looking at historical best bid and offer, but the heat map is really something unique. So how is it derived? It's all derived from the DOM. Okay, so here's your DOM and Bookmap, your current order book. Okay, this is your price ladder here, and then in this window here, this is actually the current market as well. This is your current best bid and offer and your last traded volume. A little bit of volatility picking up here, as you can see. What you're looking at here on the offer are contracts. These are contracts that sellers, they want to sell at these specific price levels and are willing to provide liquidity there. Okay, down below current price, these are buyers, okay, lined up in the auction. This is the current auction. And now you can see how quickly this is moving and how quickly these numbers are changing. When these numbers change, we reflect the change in the heat map. Okay, so note how it's flashing here and then it's gone. Well, the numbers change and then the heat map changes. Okay, so we're just graphically representing the liquidity here in this window with the best bid and offer. Okay, and that's it. It's very simple, very straightforward. Now, what's interesting about that though is we record the data. Okay, so when the heat map changes, as you've been watching here, we reflect the change, okay? But then it's recorded on the chart historically. So look at the behavior here, okay? This is the adding and pulling of liquidity right in here, okay? Large liquidity coming in is yellow, and then it turns dark, and then it kind of this bluish, back to yellow, etc. Okay? The scale of the heat map is up here. Okay? So red is the highest. You can see it here, 55 contracts at 72.70. And then orange, then yellow, then white, then blue, and then black is the lowest. All right, so that's the liquidity heat map. And what this allows you to do, I mean, we're looking at the current market right now, okay, and recent historical market, okay, because we can see the liquidity here. But we're using the DOM here just for this kind of current market mainly. And well, we're still seeing some data here, so no question we're looking at historical. But you can use now the DOM on much higher time frames, okay? Because a regular DOM is, you're just going to see these numbers, they're going to change and update. You're going to have to remember those areas, okay? Now you don't have to remember because it's recorded, okay? You can see all the activity here. Right? So here we're coming up, and note how these guys are pulling their liquidity here. Larger players, they've been waiting here for a while. Okay, how do I know that? Well, here's the data. They've been waiting up here since, well, 10, not that long, but, 10:37 or so. And we just traded up into that area. Okay, and they pulled the majority of their liquidity. Okay, so did they want to trade? We can answer that question. And the answer is no. They had no intent to trade. Okay, once price came up, they backed out of the deal, and they don't want to provide liquidity any longer. All right, so now we're starting to identify larger players, okay, on much higher time frames, and use the dome as we zoom out and look at these higher time frames. So what's going on up here? Well, these are sellers. Okay, a lot of activity on the sell side up here. Okay, well then we can start to see that price dropped and faded away right into the big buyers down here in these areas. Okay, and then price is bouncing up out of that area now. Okay, so now you can start to understand how important the heat map is, or the liquidity, okay, and a record of that liquidity, how it gives you insight to these moves. Okay? And to be really straightforward and honest, all it is the auction. Okay, the market is an auction, and we're just showing it here. Very objective information and data. All right, so that's just one element on the chart here. Okay, the other two elements, let's go over those. Okay, and actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn on the candlestick. We have a candlestick chart here that you can turn on, and let's turn off the rest of these three elements here, the heat map included. Okay, and let's see the historical best bid and offer. Okay, whoops, I'm sorry. Hold on a minute. Okay. All right, so now we're just looking at a regular 5-minute candlestick chart. Okay, we're all very accustomed to this view. Okay, now look at how naked it looks without seeing the liquidity heat map. Okay, if you would know up here a lot of sellers. You would know down here a lot of buyers. You would start to anticipate these kinds of moves to the upside. Or you would see that there's a lot of selling pressure that hits into that high liquidity and continues. More sellers than there is buyers on the bid. Okay. In this case, that wasn't the truth. So we're coming up to the upside here, and we're going to test. Looks like some of these swings up here. Okay, looks like pretty nice strong move. Anyway, we'll take a look here in just a minute and have more clarity and transparency into what this move is all about here in just a minute. Okay, because right now we don't know, we don't even have. We have a volume subchart here, and that's about it though. Okay, all we have are candlestick patterns and trying to gauge based on wicks and body sizes here, and that's rather difficult to do. There's all sorts of false positives that can come out of trading candlestick patterns, as you guys are probably well aware of. Anyway, that's really the problem here of this candlestick chart, is that it's opaque. Okay, there's data within this 5-minute period that we have no access to at all. Okay, there's only open, high, low, and close of an aggregated period. Why would we want that? I mean, we can't see what we need to see. We need to understand microstructures and how volume starts to trade within microstructures. Okay, because those lead to bigger moves. Now, to simply see the microstructure, we're going to turn on historical best bid and offer. All right, and let's define what microstructures are. Let's zoom into this little area here. And you'll see structure within structure and breaks of those structures, etc. Yeah, let's just start to outline some of the microstructures. Okay. Now, truly microstructure would be details like this down here, the breakout above and the acceptance above. And then you can see it tries to accept above here, but it breaks down again, and it comes down into this little level, and then it breaks down pretty severely here down to 72.50. Okay, and then let's just zoom out a bit more here. Okay, and then we can see structure within structure. Right, so here's a bigger structure. Okay, still it broke down from it here, but look what it did. It traded right back up into the bigger structure. Okay, so we can now take that bigger structure and look at it this way. Okay, and start to understand now that we broke out of this structure at this point here, right here. Okay, so but we can start to understand all of these little nuances here and start to understand who's in control. Okay, and not just through the heat map that I showed earlier. We're going to show also through the volume. Okay, so let's clear all those little structural areas, and let's turn on the volume. Okay, and here we go. Right, so you can see the buyers and sellers here, the aggressor. And let's zoom into an area here and just go over just these two elements now that we have on the Bookmap chart. These very simple elements. Okay, one is that historical best ask here, the red line, and then the best bid is the green line, and then the volume dots here. Okay, so what you can see are these green and red dots. Okay, and the this is the aggressor. This is the aggressive buyer right here, is the green dot. That's why it's green, and it takes liquidity off of the best offer. And that's how the market works, right? So we can zoom in here and note how we're displaying every single market event that is taking place. We're down at microsecond level here, millions of seconds. We can continue to zoom in and look at nanosecond and look at billions of seconds, but we don't trade off of those levels. So when we zoom back out, we start to just graphically aggregate this into a bigger dot. Okay, and you can get the precise data here. You can use this data tip tool, and that last line of text tells me the volume is for 3. Okay, but I zoom in here, and we know that there's actually 2 transactions here, one for a volume of 1 and the other one for a volume of 2. All right. Okay, so that's the green dot. The red dot is the opposite, is a market sell. Okay, and this gets into just a very basic, starting to get into understanding basic order flow phenomena. It's important to understand the book sweep. Okay, this is a book sweep here to the upside. Okay, there's nothing but buying up to this point. Okay, they took liquidity off of the best offer. The best offer then popped up one tick higher, and they took the liquidity there. They traded through it. The best offer comes up one more. Okay, so and they took the liquidity here, and then best offer is up here, but no one trades up here. Okay, start to find a few sellers back on the hit the bid, and we get a little back and forth here. Okay, anyway, this kind of understanding of this microstructural detail and truly how these markets trade is essential, because this leads to much bigger moves and much bigger understanding. It's just this kind of move here, for example, is the same phenomena. There's buying and selling in here, but the majority of it is selling. Very strong selling here. Okay, really nice book sweep to the downside. Nothing but selling here. Okay, some buyers start to step in, but the sellers continue to hit the bid here, and we see big red dots pulling the market down into an area here. Let's continue to zoom out, and you know, we still see sellers here, and then we get down into this area and start to you know, test a little bit lower, but we don't find any more sellers down here at this 72.49. And we rotate back up, we start to find some buyers. Okay, and we find a little bit more here. Okay, and a little bit more. Now the buyers start to step in, and they sweep the book to the upside out of this range down here. That's how the market moves from one range to the next. It's how the market moves in microstructure from one price level to the next tick, or one tick above. Okay, and this is how it moves from one microstructural range to another. Okay, it takes this kind of volume. Okay, so you can see the move. All right, now we move back up to where we dropped from up here. Okay, a little bit of back and forth. Buyers are in control now as they start to sweep this book higher. Okay, truly they're in control up here. Okay, a lot of volume here, a lot of buy volume. And why do I say truly they're in control at that point? It's because we're out of the structure, this element here. Right? Okay, so anyway, that's the volume and microstructure and now the heat map. Let's put the heat map back on. Now we have a complete picture, and let's take the candlestick off. Now we have a complete picture of really what's going on in the market. Okay, we have very precise data. Okay, we know precisely where the volume traded. We can get the numeric values if we want, there's advantages of displaying the market in this manner compared to looking at a footprint chart, for example. Okay, footprint charts are great, but they're going to be aggregated within some sort of time period or bar as well. You're not going to be able to understand the structural areas here and then like this breakout here. Okay? Or these little micro breakouts that we covered down here. Okay? You're not going to see any of it. It's all going to be aggregated and go back and forth within a bar. Okay? And that's the advantage that you're getting here, is being able to visualize that. Okay? Now, let's add another element. And like I said, this is the core element of Bookmap, is the heat map. Okay? And here it is. Okay? So we traded back down into this really high liquidity down here. Okay? Let's use our data tip tool again. 64 contracts here. Did these trade? Did they have the intent to trade? And the answer is absolutely. Okay. Actually, it looks like about 63 of them traded here. Okay, and then they hit the bid one more time here. So this seller down here is they're long now. Okay. I mean, this buyer down here, they're long now. Okay. They got filled. They got what they wanted. Okay, and it's all documented here. This is fact. Okay, that's going to be difficult to see in the dome. Okay, you're not really going to be able to see a lot of this in the dome very quickly. Okay, but we can start to understand now that larger players are starting to get filled. Okay, and well, what about when we come up into the areas like this up here? Well, this is when they're starting to pull, right? They're not interested in trading any longer. Okay, so we can start to identify. Or what about this area here? Okay, looks like they started to pull as well. All right, so did they have the intent to trade here? No. Okay, so a lot of traders that say, you know, I don't really look at the dome, it's all fake liquidity. Well, it's not. Some is, and some really has the intent to trade and stays in the book, and we can make that distinction here. All right. All right, so if you came in late here, I'm going to give you the link to the advanced order flow webinar. Okay, and here it is. There, look in the chat, and you can click on that. We're going to jump over to that webinar right now and go over the advanced phenomena in the order flow here. Okay, so you guys can get a feel for what we do in those webinars and start to look at the live market and start to anticipate these kinds of moves to take place based on what we see in our analysis in the order flow. All right, so if you've clicked on that, left it open there for a bit, we'll close up the webinar and we'll see you over there.